With 50 plus years of combined produce, supply chain, entrepreneurial, and business experience, Craig Slade and Ed Bertad discuss the impacts of fresh produce on their lives and health. This podcast is a casual conversation between two friends just trying to get better. This is the Fresh Cred.
Ed, how are you today, my man?
I'm good.
Yeah. Well, you look good. You got your IFCO golf shirt on there. Looks like you're just about ready to go out and tee it up.
I
Is
know
that
you'd
right?
accuse me of. If I told you
Oh,
I
wait a
have
second.
not
I'm
touched
sorry.
a golf club, well, I've touched a golf club, but I haven't actually hit a golf ball since September, you wouldn't believe me.
You're just trying to sandbag me. You're trying to sandbag me before we get to Viva Fresh. I know how you play.
Bizarro world. Yep.
Hey, and I don't know if you've noticed in the upper window there, but good friend of ours has joined us from IFPA, Mr. Joe Watson. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great, Craig. Craig, thank you, Ed, as well for having me. Looking forward to the conversation today.
Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
Now, Joe, you and I, we've got a bit of a history. We've kind of crossed paths a couple of times in our career, and I was trying to do some calculations. Best I can recollect, I mean, sometime, and, for you and me both, I mean, it's going to kind of tell our age a little bit. But although this white hair, me and you both are rocking, kind of tell our age. So I guess it's kind of hard to hide from it. But I think it was around the mid or late 90s you and I first started interacting. Is that about right?
That's about right. I became director of produce at Rouse's in 93. And so, I think, mid to late 90s, Craig, is about when you and I had our first time meeting and so forth. And so, 25 plus years.
For sure.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, and me and you've had a lot of twists and turns along the way in our career and been a couple of different spots and different areas of the country and this, that, and the other. So, I mean, I know about Joe Watson, but a lot of people maybe don't know about Joe Watson. And I maybe don't know the full story about Joe Watson before 1993, before you were at Rouse's. And so, and I saw in your latest post via LinkedIn, I guess the first guy you worked for there at Rouse or whatever.
That's right.
So if you can take us back a little bit real quick and just, tell everybody about Joe Watson and how you got to IFPA and how you got here.
Well, thank you for doing so. It's I've actually told this story quite a bit to people. I've written a lot about it, and it's the journey I've had has been something I could not have foreseen. Coming out of high school, growing up in East Texas, and really having a desire not to stay there. I wanted to get out as fast as I graduated high school, and I did. I jumped on a Greyhound bus and went to Louisiana. And
now wait a second. I got to stop you, Joe.
Oh, come on now. You tell me.
What part of East Texas was so bad that you?
It wasn't that it was. It wasn't. It was so bad. We were just in the country. We were just between south of Lufkin up there, and that's beautiful country, piney woods. But if I wasn't going to work in a sawmill or work in the woods or work what I thought was going to be in a supermarket, then I had to go somewhere else.
Okay.
And how funny is that, right?
Professional poacher.
And
back then. Maybe now too. I don't know.
Well, so I graduated high school, literally jumped on a Greyhound bus. Mm-hmm. I had $100 in my pocket. It took $24 to get to home in Louisiana on a one-way ticket. And guys, I arrived there in second week in July 1982. And 4 days later, I met the young lady who had become my wife and who I am still married to this day. And I credit her, number one, for keeping me there, keeping me grounded. But I jumped ahead a little bit. The point you made about the gentleman that I posted about in my LinkedIn page this week.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The gentleman in that picture was a Malcolm Landry. After being laid off 4 times in the first 10 months I was living in Louisiana, I decided, you know what? Grocery business is a steady income. It may not be the greatest income, but it's a steady income. And literally, I'm 19 years old. I needed an income. I was walking. I didn't have a car.
Right.
And I walked in this little store called Rouse's. They had 3 stores at the time. And this gentleman hired me. He hired me. And he hired me for 2 reasons. He said, I'm hiring you because you do have some grocery experience. I had worked in in a little supermarket in my hometown. And back in high school, he said, so that's one reason. And he said, the second reason, he said, we're getting ready to prepare for Easter. I'm going to need some extra help. He said, but I'll tell you this, I don't think you're going to last 30 days. He literally told me that, sitting in his office.
Wow.
So,
and how many times have you been laid off before this?
4 times. 4 times I've been laid off.
You've already been laid off 4 times, and your new employer is just telling you, you ain't going to make it 30 days. I'm sure your confidence level is like super low at this point.
It was, well, it's funny you say that because I actually took it as a challenge.
Yeah.
However, it's amazing how, and that's been the theme of my life. When somebody tells me I can't do something, then I'm going to do everything I can to say I can do something.
Right.
So,
right.
And so the moral of the story, or the rest of the story is, I lasted 32 years with that company. And the better part of that story is, Malcolm retired after 40 years of that company. And when I left Rouse's in 2015 to go to PMA, we stayed in close touch, and we still do to this day. And now that we're back living in Louisiana because we have a granddaughter here, we get to visit and so forth. But, again, I jumped ahead a little bit. So, yeah, my growth with Rouse's, I started out as a stocker, Craig and Ed. And within 7 months, I was an assistant produce manager, was fortunate to become a produce manager at just over 20 years old, and then grew with the company. As I said, they were 3 stores when I started. 32 years later, once I left, being a director of produce for 22 of those years, the company had grown to 46 stores, and they're still growing to this day. They've been greatly successful. I think I've lost count. I think they're roughly 70 stores or so now.
Really?
In fact, they're building another new store about 5 miles from us right now, and just completed a pretty substantial remodel of one of the locations that's closest to our house. So they just continue to grow, and they have a great model. Craig, the old headquarters we had when we were doing business together,
right.
They've long closed that. They opened a brand new facility between Houma and Thibodaux. I know you remember those grounds.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they've got a great new headquarters there. So preparing themselves for more growth in the future, I'm sure. Yeah. So it's been a great ride. It really has. Yeah.
Awesome story, Joe, for sure. And like I say, great start. And I wasn't. I think I might have heard that story before, but I'd never really got clarity on why you'd leave East Texas. But I guess I kind of understand a little bit now. So.
You didn't go too far.
No,
he did not go too far. I was going to say
it wasn't a transatlantic voyage or anything. Come on.
Well, with the exception of the 5-year bump over to Delaware,
Okay, that's close.
We did. Yeah, we did do that, and that was really when we went to PMA. We took the move up to Delaware, and that was a great experience as well, getting to know a different part of the country, and having that opportunity. So we're very fortunate, very blessed to be able to do that. Yeah, and
awesome story.
Yeah, well, it's a story that's still being written. I've got some time ahead of me, guys.
Yeah, Craig.
And I hope to accomplish some things before.
Okay. I was just saying, it's a great story so far, right? Chapter 1's good. You got 10 more chapters to go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I've had to, just like you guys, you're in this business. You figure I had my first job in the produce department in high school in 1979. Never thinking, I said a while ago, I was going to stay in East Texas to work in a supermarket, and look where I ended up doing. And you know what? I've said it many times. That career chose me long before I chose it.
Yeah.
And I don't regret a day of it. I've met so many wonderful people, and to this day have many of the connections I had built in retail that I still have here at IFPA, and very thankful for that.
And I bet,
including you two gentlemen.
I bet you're thankful for, I've thought about this before, and I've talked about growing up in a family business and folks that over the years, I've interviewed for one reason or another as far as for employment. I mean, there's just there's something to be said for folks that start off either in a family business or in a career in a fast-paced adverse working environment, if you will, just given the amount of time and hours and pressure. And so starting off your career in that type of role does a lot of good. I feel. I mean, I think it definitely helps mold you as either an employee or an entrepreneur or a business owner, etc. I mean, definitely not averse to long working hours or big challenges, etc. I mean, you don't sound like somebody who's taking a lot of time off over the years.
Well, I didn't for 35 years. That's for sure. Being in the association world, it's different. It's a different balance. It certainly is. In retail, you never turn it off. So it's constant 24/7 all year long. In the association world, the workflow, it picks up, it slows down, it picks up, it slows down. And my team would probably say, what do you mean? When does it slow down? And it really doesn't. It's just a different type of work, But I would say this, the thing about working in retail, in any consumer facing business like that, you have to be prepared for any type of experience, any type of work schedule. To your point, Ed, never took much time off, worked 7-day weeks many times, Sundays, late nights, mornings, holidays, can't even count how many. What made it pleasurable, or more pleasurable, if you will, was the fact that my wife never gave me grief about it. She was always supportive, no matter what. Even when our kids were small, I missed a lot of things with them growing up, no doubt about it. But she was always supportive of my career and what I was doing. And it was really our career. We were always together on that, And so that made it much more palatable, the amount of time I missed being away. And everybody's not that fortunate. I understand that. But I was certainly blessed to have a wife that understood and supported me in that. So that really made it, again, more bearable, if you will. I would also say this. My oldest daughter, who is in restaurant management, which is a lot like retail, when she decided to take that leap, we had lots of, coaching opportunities. Explained to her, I said, okay, if you're going to do this, this is what you got to be prepared for. And to her credit, she jumped in both feet, and she is doing fantastic. We're so proud of her. She's living in Birmingham now and is doing great and has a lot of opportunity ahead of her. So very proud of her. So I'm glad I had that experience to kind of help her as she was making those decisions in her own career.
A lot of nights and weekends in that industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
So we talked about you being busy.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm sure you're particularly busy. You've got the retail conference in Chicago coming up, right? Is that in June?
Yes, sir. June 7th and 8th. So those who may not be familiar with the retail conference, it's a legacy event that was built off of the Fresh Connections retail event that PMA had. We had that event, I think, since 2011, and usually held it in Philadelphia. And before the pandemic, we were looking to move the event because we had gotten to a point where that property we were at in Philadelphia, we kind of outgrown it. And we wanted to go somewhere else. Well, here comes the pandemic, and 2020 gets canceled right at the, because the pandemic kind of gets underway first, second week in March. And that event historically had been in April. And so we had to, cancel it actually. And then here we are, 3 years later, now as IFPA, and we've been able to reimagine that event and do something we wanted to do all along, was to add some other features to it. We have the golf outing that takes place the first day of the event, along with, in conjunction with that, we have some committee meetings that take place. This year, our retail council will meet, and then our CEA council will be meeting concurrently, and then those two councils will meet together. There's a lot of questions coming from the retail community about CEA and so forth, and certainly there is a lot to be learned about how controlled ag can benefit retail and likewise and vice versa. So we're looking forward to getting those two committees together to talk about some of the big picture items around those two segments. And again, the golf outing, and then we'll have a awards reception that evening, welcome reception, and then on Thursday the 8th will be our day of of education, beginning with an opening general session. We're going to have a presentation from IRI, Jonna Parker, and I will be there as well. Looking forward to being able to share some really cool retail trend data and so forth, which will lead into some concurrent sessions that will take place. And then we're going to close the day with a panel that's going to be made up of supply side and buy side participants that's going to share with us some takeaways from a think tank that's actually going to take place the day before the event as well. So we're really excited about what the results of that will be, and leave the audience with something, have the audience leave with something that's really beneficial and something they can action items they can take back to their business. So it's a really cool 2-day event. It's not an expo. About 300, maybe 330 to 350 at the most people, just high value networking. 50 to 60 retail banners will be there. So you think about the density of buyers to supply side attendees that will be there. It's a really high value event from the standpoint of making those connections between buyers and suppliers.
Yeah, and I can personally comment. So Joe and I connected last year about this event, and he had invited us up, and we attended, a couple of us, and I got to tell you, there's a part of me that kind of doesn't want to make big news about it, just because I just assumed some of my competitors didn't make it up. But in all fairness, no, it's a great event, and it's really something that I really encourage people to attend, because Joe does a really nice job. It's intimate. It's you get really good information, and like I say, it's a nice compact event and an opportunity to really network with some key people. And yeah, I highly recommend it. And SunFed will be participating again this year. So
well, we certainly appreciate that. And I will tell you, a learning for us last year was had no idea just how impactful the golf portion of this would be. Now, we know every golf event across the industry sells out, right? That's not a secret.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a part of that when I was at retail. I played as much as I could when I was in retail, but I had no idea.
As much as we try to marginalize the golf outings, they are very popular.
Very much so. And then a benefit, I say a benefit, a side effect of that was how many of the C-suite it attracted for the golf outing. I was shocked by
Why does that surprise you?
Well, I mean, maybe I shouldn't have been surprised, guys, but it was nice to see. It really was, which means they were there for our conference as well, and most of them were anyway. So that was very nice, and certainly hopefully that we'll have the similar type of turnout from executive groups as well this year.
Craig, you should have played.
So.
What, last year?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? You think I did?
That was leading, buddy. I was
going to say, what do you think the odds are? I didn't play.
I was trying to get you to confess.
Yeah. So, well, hey guys, that Joe. I mean, yes, I really recommend both the golf tournament, the event. For anybody that maybe doesn't know anything about it. We'll make sure. If in fact, it's probably a good time now. Go ahead and tell them how they link up to it, and then we'll also, when we close out here, we'll give them the link. So if you've got the link, share that with them so they know where to go and find information on the event.
Yeah. So the link to the event is freshproduce.com is our website. Freshproduce.com /the retail conference. So freshproduce.com /the retail conference or retail conference. Get you to it. And come on in. We actually sent our first marketing emails out yesterday to both the buy side and supply side. So many people who may be seeing your podcast will have received that mention. But and then happy to help anyone who wants to reach out directly to me as well.
Very cool.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Well, Joe, as you join us today, we really, the show is about, friends getting together and talking and communicating and trying to figure out how do we get through this crazy thing called life and share different things that, we find that help us get better, and and challenges that we face, and have the
Mhm.
discussion. So a lot of the different individuals we have on here, everybody's got a story of some sort.
Mhm.
I think yours may be a bit more. I don't know how. It's definitely going to be a lot more tenuous. I don't even know the
Yeah.
right word I'm looking for, but it's definitely a story that I think will resonate with a lot of people. It
Mm.
certainly resonates with me. I came to know your story that you've been going through over the last couple of years via your LinkedIn page, which you've been
Mhm.
extremely transparent on, and and of course you and I talked via the phone after I'd found out about it, and so yeah, and you and I just back and forth talked about it, and said, thought it'd be a great idea to have you come on and share with everybody your, the battle that you've been facing, you and your family, and
Mhm.
talk a little bit about the battle itself, but importantly, how you got through it and the highs and lows. And so, yeah.
Well, I thank you, Craig. I appreciate that. Yes, it's you know, our life is filled with challenges and tests, right? And we move along life, and we think we're everything is going the way we want it to be. You're feeling good, you're having fun, you're enjoying things, your family's good, you think things are just where you want them to be, and then you get slammed in the face. Going on almost 2 years ago, I started having some symptoms of that I didn't recognize, and I was trying to just deal with it on my own, and just trying to work through it. Talking to my wife, this is how I'm feeling, and it stayed prolonged, and through 2021. And at the end of the year, my wife said, "You really need to go in and get some tests done." Now, here's the interesting thing: I've never avoided the doctor. I mean, since the time I was in my late 20s, I had a cardio issue, a cardiac. Well, I've got a damaged valve from having rheumatic fever when I was a child, so I've always had to keep track of that. Um, but I've always gone to the doctor, did my regular checkups. When I got to be 40, I started seeing the urologist normally. Us guys, we know what that means. So, I mean, so I didn't avoid the doctor per se, but there was one thing I avoided, and that was getting a colonoscopy. And so when my wife said, you really need to go get checked, you need to go get screened. So I did. And May of 2022, I went for my first colonoscopy at 58 years old, and found out I had stage 3 rectal cancer. The good news is that nothing was metastasized. It was contained to that area. Um, so the prognosis was better, or better than you may have thought with stage 3. So we started the process. And I remember sitting in the doctor's office that day when I got the diagnosis. I said, okay, what are we doing? Let's get a plan together. I felt this calmness that came over me, that we're going to be okay. And it all goes back to my faith, guys. I've always been a positive minded person, and my faith has driven that. And so from the moment it happened, I heard those words. I didn't feel like, oh, what was me? Why did this happen to me? What have you? I was like, okay, let's attack it. Let's go after it. What are we going to do? And I was very fortunate. I didn't have to leave the area to get the care I need. I've got a great surgeon and a great oncologist and the teams around them, and they listened to me. And so we went after it. And I began chemo in July of 2022, and was going well. About halfway through my chemo treatments, I got very, very ill. Ended up going into the hospital 2 times within a month. I had already lost 25 pounds by the time I found out I had cancer. I lost another 30 pounds when I got sick. I was down 55 pounds. I was south of 190 pounds, and I hadn't been that weight since I was probably 30 years old. So, and on top of that, I lost a lot of muscle tone. I was weak, and I'd gotten to a point, and Craig, I mentioned this to you earlier. I got to a point for a few weeks there where I see why people give up. I
Mm-hmm.
feel it, because it took all the energy in the world just to get out of the bed. And I felt that pulling at me, and I just kept praying. And my wife was right there, the rock of my life, no doubt about it. and she was not going to give up, and I was not going to give up. And we got through that. Started feeling better. My oncologist changed my regimen for my chemo, and I switched from a pill version to an all infusion version. I've got a Metaport embedded, inserted in my chest, so they just plug it right in and give me the chemo drugs. And I would wear a pump for 3 days and then take a week off and then go in again and do it. And once I got into that regimen, my body handled that a lot better. And so got through my chemo. It took from July till December to finish my chemo when I was supposed to be done in September. So I was backed up a little bit in terms of the time. And then since then, I did 28 rounds of radiation. And along with that, I was doing a low dose of chemo at the same time. Every day I had to do radiation, I did chemo. And got through that. Of course, there was some side effects to that as well, but not anything that I couldn't deal with. And here we are, into February. My next step is to do an MRI to see how well the treatments have done in terms of shrinking the tumor. And once we get those results, we'll go in and do a surgery, which will be probably mid to late March, if all things being equal. And then I'll have to do a second surgery sometime after that, because the first surgery will require me to wear an ileostomy for that period of time while I'm healing, and to get through that. But I'll back up a little bit. Last year when I was going through all this, Craig, I don't know if did I see you at the food service? Yes, I did, because you guys did you did your Fresh Cred. You and Ed did that from there. I had just completed my second round of chemo the day before I flew out to Monterey, and I'm going to tell you guys, I don't know how I got through that looking back on it, because I was feeling so tired and so weak. But when I got back from that is when I really started feeling bad. And I did 2 subsequent trips after that, one to Missouri and one to Arkansas, and actually Texas. And then when I got back from those 2, I was toast, guys. I was done.
So that's the amazing thing, okay? Because you did not seem, there was no signs of you at the food service conference being tired, just coming out of chemo, or there was no sign. And going back to the retail conference last year, which you were running that, right?
Yes, I was. Yes, I was. But here's the kicker about that. Nobody knew yet at that time, because I was diagnosed. I was diagnosed May 5th, and I kind of skipped over that. But it's a bad habit, skipping over stuff and having to go back. So about mid-July, I lose track of time when it was. I was talking to a good industry friend of mine. He knew something was wrong. He had seen a few posts I had made on my Facebook page that led him to believe something was going on with me. So he reached out to me and he said, "Hey man, I'm seeing some posts out there. Is everything okay?" And I told him, I said, "You know what? Everything's not okay, but it is okay. So let me explain to you what happened." And I told him. And I said, "But I just don't want to share it with everyone yet." But I trusted him to keep it, just between he and I. We've been knowing each other many, many years. And he said, "Let me tell you, Joe," he said, "I had an experience a couple of years ago." He said, "I had a fall, a bad, bad fall, which led me to have a brain injury and lots of other rehabilitation he had to go through. And when he was going through it, they thought he had some sort of a neurological disease.
Right.
It took time for them to rule things out, to get him better. About a year, he told me, and he told me during that time, he said, "Joe, had I not shared a story with people and had people praying for me and so forth," he said, "I don't know if I'd have got through it." He said, "So think about that." He said, "Think about those that could, by sharing your story, that can pick up that for you and hold you up and pray for you, because it matters." And that day, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear somebody tell me that. Yeah. That day was the first day I posted something out on LinkedIn about what I was going through. And the outpouring has been amazing. The support of my organization that I work for, IFPA, the leadership, all my coworkers, folks like yourself, people I've known for years, family, friends, it's just been just amazing and overwhelming. And I can't thank everyone enough for that. But I'll say this, is as important as that is, and as grateful as we are for that. I know there's a purpose for all this. Craig, and Ed, I'll tell you both. I told my wife that there's a purpose while we're going through this. We don't know what it is just yet, but it will be revealed. And I'll tell you, the thing about this cancer is that nobody in my family has had it. In fact, very few people in my family have had cancer, period. We've had heart disease, but not cancer, and certainly not this cancer. My dad had prostate cancer. My great-grandfather had prostate cancer. And my grandfather, my dad's father, had lung cancer. But nobody's had this type of cancer. And so I asked my doctor, I said, how? He said, who knows, Joe? I said, is it environmental? Is it diet? He said, again, it could be a number of different factors. It could be just something in your DNA that was just kind of, off, and which caused you to be susceptible to this. So then I asked him the other question, how long? He said, it's a slow growing cancer. He said, maybe 7 to 10 years since it started. So that's like, I want to hit myself in the head. Why didn't I do that colonoscopy when I turned 50 or 48 or something like that, Right. So that's my message. We see these advertisements on TV all the time. Get your screenings, get your screenings. This is a perfect example of why people need to listen to their body and get over the, whatever it is you're worried about doing these types of screenings, because it's nothing to it. And if you guys have done them before, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. The prep is the worst part. The test itself.
It is indeed. It is indeed.
And it's the peace of mind you get from it. And I'm just lucky. And still, God knows how all this ends. But my prognosis at this point, based on what we know, is good. Once I get the surgery and get healed up, my surgeon told me at that point, we just screen you every year and make sure nothing else is going on, and you just go on with your life. So, that's our plan. Now, what God's plan is something different, but that's where we are today with it. But I'm happy I was able to finally overcome that hump and share that and get that out in front of people. And the feedback I've gotten, people telling me I needed to hear that, or thank you, this has been everything I needed, and so forth. So if it helps somebody else and get them over a hump, if they're going through, whether it's cancer or something else, wonderful. That's what it's all about.
Well, one of us on this call here is about to turn 50, so I don't know if he's
yeah, the wheels are turning.
The guy that doesn't have any white hair, which is really odd, but I'll leave that to another show.
Well,
but
it's going away. It's not going gray, but it's going away.
Well, hopefully it goes gray before it goes away, Ed. But no, it's important. It certainly is. So yeah, that's
I'm
with you. Duly noted.
I'm with you. Yeah, that is something, like you say, the prep is the worst thing. I will tell you, at least for me, it's some of the best sleep. That it is like nothing once, you go in and, the sleep is amazing.
Sounds like a spa.
Sleep is amazing.
Sounds like a vacation.
I'm telling you, it's like nothing you've ever, you go from 2 seconds of, hey, la, la, and then you wake up and it's like, huh? You mean time is? So I've had it twice, and so I woke up the last time, and I guess I'd gotten spun around. So I had both ends done. I figured when I was out, let's get both ends covered, right? Yeah. So endoscopy and the whole deal, right? Yeah. But they apparently had to spin me around or something. So when I went out, I was looking at a clock, and then when I woke up,
you traveled in time.
There was no clock. And that's why I was like, well, why don't y'all take the clock down? and the lady, she's like, look, he said, what are you talking about? And the doctor, he corrected, he thinks he's still looking at that wall over there. So anyway, it is a great sleep. Yeah, but Joe, that is, for sure. Your journey now. So where are you at in the journey, right? So I know you posted that you had a handful of it looked like chemo pills that you were having, and it said, look, I hope this is the last time I ever take these chemo pills or whatever. Where are you at currently in the journey?
So that was on January 20th, the last day I took chemo, the last day I took radiation treatments.
Okay.
So where I'm at right now is I'll do an MRI sometime in the next week or so, waiting for the schedule. And then from the results of the MRI will indicate to my surgeon that we're ready for surgery. In other words, that the chemo and the radiation did its job together.
Right.
And it got it down to a point where they can go in and remove that area and still have enough what they need to put me back together. That's the key.
Yeah.
And because if they didn't, then I would have to wear, an auxiliary unit for the rest of my life.
Understood. Yeah.
And we don't want that.
No.
So, so right now we're banking on being ready to do surgery, to do all that sometime in late March. Yep. So, but I will tell you too, that here I am, a month removed from chemo and radiation. Guys, I'm going to tell you, if I didn't know I had cancer, I feel as good as I have felt in years.
So that's kind of along the lines of what I was going to ask you, because for anyone that's felt poorly, illness, it's very distracting, right? And you've been faced with, obviously one of the biggest challenges of them all. So in the spirit of a lot of the things we talk about, which is performance and high achievers and folks that do things very well or the right way, how do you stay focused on your day-to-day when you have something like this looming? I've struggled with, I wouldn't say something similar, but feeling very poorly, and it's very distracting, very difficult to not only focus but stay motivated and try to do your best. I mean, that's what's intriguing me, I guess, from your story.
Well, I can tell you, thank you, Ed, and you're right. I've always been pretty good at compartmentalizing things. So I kind of lean on that. But I will tell you, back in August and September when I was sick, I would come sit behind my desk. Of course, I work from home. And I couldn't stay here more than a couple of hours. And I'd have to get away from my desk and go lay down or sit down because I just didn't have the stamina.
But that's physical.
And it was
that's
tough.
The physical part.
That was the physical.
I'm actually more interested in the
right.
mental part.
Okay. So back to the compartmentalization of things. I give it all to the Lord, Ed, to be honest with you. I trust in Him, and I'm not going to try to fix this myself. I'm going to do my part. The doctors will do their part, and God's going to do His part. And that's how I look at it. That's as simple as that. And I don't have anything much more overwhelming to share.
And that's the show.
Really, I don't go into it blindly. I understand that, but at the same time, we are where we are because there's a reason why I'm where I'm at and what I'm going through. And I said that earlier. There's a purpose to this. I just don't know what it is. You said, and it will be revealed eventually. And it'll be like go off like it'll be like lights blaring. It'll be This is why. I just don't know what that is yet.
Well, and I mean your testimonial, right? So as simple as that answer is, possibly that testimonial moves somebody else to find the Lord and find God and change their life. Even if they're not battling cancer, right? Because
absolutely.
If they're just battling life, for crying out loud, if you don't have that connection, battling life can be a pretty daunting task if you don't have a relationship with God. So,
well, I firmly believe that, no doubt about it, and hopefully others will too.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're like I said, you're walking. This is how I do it, right? I mean, and like we talk about this show and the whole cleaning and challenge and everything else. The best way to change the world or impact the world is change yourself and be a living example, right, of what you believe in, and I think. If the show does nothing else, I mean, I think if we come away and somebody changes their life because of that, then that's a pretty good show.
I don't want to give away any. I don't want to give away anything, but something that's been weighing on me, and you guys are going to get a scoop here, okay?
Okay.
Something that's been weighing on me is that maybe there's something that comes out of this that leads me to doing something that's for those in our industry that's battling these types of things. Maybe it's I don't know what it is just yet. It's kind of been on my mind. What does that mean? Is it support? Is it resources? What have you? Something outside of my professional work, right?
Yeah.
Something that I would do on my own. I don't know exactly what that is, but it seems like there's something around that area that I need to focus on more and pray about more, because I think there's something there.
Well, I will tell you from, and and I don't. There's just different people. So I don't follow a lot of social media,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I do keep up with you, right, via your LinkedIn, and
Mm-hmm.
partly I keep up with you because you're an excellent writer.
Mm. Thank you.
You're a good storyteller, in what you write in your LinkedIn pages. You're pretty regular post, and so I would just tell you from an outside looking in. I mean, if you haven't, or if you hadn't considered or thought about doing writing, or frankly, what you do via LinkedIn, I think that there's something there. So
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate that. I've had so many people tell me you need to write a book,
yeah,
and I've got enough stories written out there. I probably can collect them all and make at least 6 pages out of it or something.
yeah. Hey, man.
But no, I appreciate that, and that's how I express myself, is through words. It really
Yeah.
is. That's how I do it. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, for sure. I think a book is an excellent idea, and I think what you do, as you write the stuff and post it up, I think people really should check out your LinkedIn page because, yeah, it's fun to read. It's not always, it's not always about the cancer battle, whatever. It's just different stuff. People you've worked with in your past,
Right.
your daughter, and and her life experience, and man, there was one sometime back. Your dad, I guess, was a trucker. Is that right?
He was for
Yeah.
many, many years. He got behind the wheel until he was 79 years old.
Yeah.
Yep, sure did. So
I think Ed can relate to
Mm-hmm.
that a little bit.
Yeah.
yep, yep. So yeah, and that's, and I know LinkedIn has a lot of good uses to it, but for me, it's being able to share those types of stories that may be uplifting to folks and so forth. In addition to the professional stuff that we all use it for and so forth. So I
Yeah,
enjoy it.
for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hey, so through this journey, right? You talked about being down, and certainly, your faith in God, faith in
Mm-hmm.
Jesus is a big component of that, right? We
Yes,
we
sir.
understand that, but what about things, exercise? Did you
Mm-hmm.
change your diet? Is there anything that Joe is doing or not doing today, or doing less of, versus Joe before the diagnosis?
Well, I can tell you, I mentioned that cardiac issue that I had back in my late 20s. I was, I had, my wife is a great cook and a great
Hmm.
Cajun cook, and I was all in.
Is she from
And
Thibodaux? Is that Thibodaux home?
she's from Montague, Louisiana, which is south of Houma.
Oh
So
Lord.
so Craig, you know how far south Houma is. She's from further south than that. Okay.
She didn't grow up on land.
No, not much. She grew up on Pilots, brother. I promise you.
Exactly.
So, but she's a great Cajun cook, and within the first 5 years of us being married, I gained a bunch of weight and wasn't eating. I mean, obviously, I was eating good, wasn't eating right.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and wasn't exercising. I was a young produce manager and just busy all the time. So anyway, I had this issue, and from that time, 29 years old, is when we changed how we ate. My
Okay.
wife changed her cooking habits. She started doing some of the same recipes, but in a healthier way. And we were always heavy in eating vegetables in our diet, not so much fruit, but we started finding ways to add more fruit to our diet as well. And that has stayed that way, since that time. Um, what I would say is that I was really laxed in regular exercising. I always stretched, but I didn't do a lot of exercising. So really getting into walking, and I keep telling myself I'm going to join a gym or start going to a gym. I have not done that, but I've got a few weights here at the house I play around with, but it's not like going to a gym, So I don't want to build up. I just want to stay toned and get blood into my muscles, and you know what I'm saying, and do those things that you can get from being at a gym. What I would also say is I stopped drinking as much. I wasn't a heavy drinker, but I would drink 4 to 6 drinks a week, and I still enjoy a bourbon. I still enjoy a couple of glasses of wine, occasionally a beer, but I just really cut back on the alcohol. which alcohol is certainly not beneficial if you drink too much for a number of different reasons, and I'm not a doctor and so forth, but they say there's links to colon cancer with alcohol use as well. So I have rectal cancer, but it's pretty similarly related, So
I was kind of hoping you were going to say more wine, would help out. But
well, I think there's some good
Please
benefits to
don't
wine, but if
don't
you drink
tell
a
him
bottle
that.
a night, I don't know, Craig.
He needs zero
Yeah,
encouragement.
I know. It is not that wine or whatever. They all those studies they try and somehow come up with how drinking wine is all this health benefit. And yeah, realistically, I think there's no way to say it's good.
Well, especially after the fourth glass. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, for sure.
Craig,
Oh my gosh.
I smell a field trip coming. I don't watch it much
South
anymore,
Louisiana?
but when it first came out, I was a big fan of Swamp People, which is a show that takes place in that part of Louisiana. And Homa is an area that's highlighted quite a bit, and it's revolves around alligator hunting. But it's an outdoorsman's paradise down there.
Have you ever been red fishing South Louisiana? I mean, in the swamp.
So, no. And I hear that Venice, you basically can throw your car keys in the water and catch a fish. So, in Venice, Louisiana. So, I'd like to experience that.
All I can tell you, we used to do a trip, and man, don't expect to understand your fishing guide because you won't. Literally, that's another language they speak down there. But then you go through this marshland, this swampland that it's cut out like these little trails that you're going through. And if they dumped you off, the water's not that deep, but if they dumped you off and left you to get home, you would never get home. Everything looks exactly the same out there. Right, Joe?
It absolutely does, Craig. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's probably you guys used to go out of Cocodrie.
Man, yeah, that sounds familiar. I think that
down south of Homa.
Yes, it was south of Homa. Yes,
yeah, that's the big fishing area, Cocodrie.
Yeah. So
it's
a great time, and I'm all down for a field trip. Well, you know what? You set something up, and let's put that together. Let's put that on the list.
Love to do it. Heck, you come here at the right time. We'll get Gene's Kitchen fired up.
Yeah. So what is? But before I want to go to Gene's Kitchen because I saw you've had a post on that and you put something out about that. But real quick before we get to that, so exercise. You changed your exercise. Just real quick, what kind of things are you doing? What do you found to be beneficial in that respect? And
well, for me, I mentioned stretching. Growing up being an athlete, it was instilled in me. You got to stretch before you do anything, right? If you start working out before you stretch, you're gonna it's not gonna give you the best benefit. You're gonna be stiff, you're gonna be sore or more sore. So stretching, increasing my stretching, again, introducing blood into the muscles, getting my body going. But I start every morning with lemon water before I do anything. And just get the organs going, getting going. I used to drink coffee first thing when I woke up in the morning.
Okay.
And now I don't drink. I drink 1 cup of coffee a day, and I don't drink it until about 9 o'clock in the morning. So I get my body going, eat my breakfast, take my do what I need to do in the morning, and then drink my coffee then. And that, whether it helps or not, I feel better by doing it that way. And then just doing some light workout here at the house and walking. And that's and because of neuropathy from the chemo in my feet, that's been helpful to keep everything going, because sitting down for long hours is certainly not helpful. So getting up and doing that's been helpful.
How do you make? So I wanted to. So today's food of the day is going to be lemon water, right? So because I'm actually going to give that a try. So what is your preparation for that? Do you take fresh lemons and squeeze it, and then add water? Tell us what the recipe is.
I buy 75 count lemons if I can find them. If not, I do 95. So you guys know the size of those. So I use a half, but I cut it in slices. And I heat me up 8 ounces of water, and I say heat, just lukewarm. I don't make it hot.
Right.
Just medium temp, and then squeeze those 3 slices or 4 slices into the water. Let it steep for a little bit, and then just drink that up first thing in the morning. And it just, I don't know, it just gives me it just feels like
Do
it
you
gives
sip
me a
on it
boost.
or do you chug it?
No, I don't chug it.
Okay.
I do sip on it. Yes. So it take me 2 or 3 minutes to drink it. Yeah.
Right.
But I don't
So,
chug it. No,
well,
I do not.
that is the food of the day. All right, let's go to Gene's Kitchen real quick,
Yeah.
and then we'll bring this baby to a round up here.
Yeah. So Gene's Kitchen, as I mentioned, my wife is a fantastic cook. And when we still lived in Delaware, I've always posted pictures of our food. And guys, if you follow me, you've seen some of those. But when we still lived in Delaware, I created this little hashtag, Gene's Kitchen. And I started putting posts out on LinkedIn and on my Facebook page as well. And I had so many people comment on it. And look, I will tell you, my wife really, it's restaurant quality stuff.
Right.
Between her skills in cooking and my skills in plating the food, it's a home run, man. I'm telling you. I will say that I can make a nice looking plate, no doubt about it. I'm kind of doing all the mise en place over here while she's doing everything. I'm doing all the chopping and preparing, and she's putting everything together, and we make a good team in there. But her menu is so broad. It's not just Cajun food. My wife can cook so many different things, and just using that Gene's Kitchen hashtag, and putting it out there. I've had a lot of fun with that. Really have.
Well, you know what? That I may come for the Gene's Kitchen more so than the fishing. So
hey, we'd be fine with that. We would love.
I'm fasting right now,
We
so
love doing it.
yeah, just thinking about food, my mouth's watering.
You're what? You're fasting? Is this like a day
Oh no,
fast or a
I'm not
multi-day
you.
fast?
I'm not psycho or anything. I'm not doing like several days. I haven't eaten since last night. I've gotten past my window.
Last night.
So at this point, I'm just gonna wait till dinner. So 23 hours, whatever.
It's the way to go.
It's good for your body too.
It is.
Yeah,
now, did you do any? Did you do any fasting by chance during?
No, I did not do any fasting. I have done fasting before, but I haven't done any through this period, Craig. I will say I did some fasting because I just didn't have the appetite to eat.
Right.
Not because I was but keeping myself from eating. Just didn't have the appetite, which led to all the weight loss. But no, I haven't done any, described or fasting.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, just to, and I don't know if there's anything else within the story, if we left anything out journey wise or life hacks or anything that you
I wish there was a big secret. No, it's just that I would just like to leave everyone with this. If you're facing this kind of a battle, it's your attitude towards it. And knowing that, God's there for all of us. You just got to call on him and trust in him. And that's what it's meant for me and my whole life. So it wasn't like I found God as soon as the day I found out I had cancer. This has been a life journey for me. And so I just called on that relationship, and it means everything. It really, really does. So that would be my pitch, if you will.
Yeah.
To people who may be facing with any kind of a health journey, or maybe not a health journey. Maybe it's
just a life journey. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Just as a life journey, having a relationship with God can be huge, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, because, like I say, this thing they call life is pretty challenging by itself without getting cancer or heart disease or anything else thrown in there. But
absolutely,
we're all going to be faced with stuff at some point, and and having somebody like you that's in the midst of it, right? It's in the thick of it to come on and talk about it.
And I don't doubt
huge.
for 1 minute that you truly want to help people and are clearly open about it. But it has to be somewhat cathartic, right, for you to actually help people or talk about it. And I mean, I think anytime you're trying to be strong yourself, right? I mean, if you're talking about it, we've said in the past, speaking it into existence or getting it out in the ether, if you will, what you're going through, it helps you kind of stay focused or disciplined or, motivated, whatever you want to, focus on.
No, it is. And, I'll say this, that I'm an emotional guy by nature. I could break out in a cry, if I get to talking about my dad passed away about 2 years ago. Yeah, I can get emotional real quick. But through this whole thing with my cancer, when I talk about it or what have you, I have never had that emotion. that, like that. I don't know how to describe it. So it's just like confidence, a level of confidence. And I'm going to say it's coming from knowing that God's in control of all this. And why am I going to worry about it and get down about it when I know he's got this under control? So that's why I feel like this is different for me in that respect. So I just haven't had that emotion at all. It's been like just totally confident in this. So, yeah.
Well, Joe, we really appreciate it. I mean, you've certainly been very transparent with us today and the audience. And I mean, like I said, we could have just talked about your produce career and probably had a great show. But no, seriously, it's been a real pleasure to have you come in and share this information with us. And we definitely, going back to what we kind of started out with, we want to encourage everybody to check out the IFPA Retail Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you've got the page that they can go to and check that out, what if you'll share that again real quick.
Yeah, it's freshproduce.com / the retail conference. And that'll get you to the website. And again, I'm happy to share my email address if anyone
please
want to grab it.
If you want to share,
can't be liable
for
any kind of.
Yeah, we're not liable for who sends you an email, but okay. You go right ahead.
All right. So it's J Watson, JWATSON at freshproduce.com. So if anybody listening wants to get some information about the conference or anything else regarding IFPA, please reach out.
And go to Joe's LinkedIn page. Right, and check that out, and check out Joe's stories and all that good stuff. So, no, Joe, it's been great.
Thank you.
Ed, as always, you can now take off to the golf course in your golf shirt and and finally hit that ball, as you say, since you haven't hit
September.
since September or something. What store are you going with now? I don't know.
Yeah, you'll see. So no quotes today?
Yeah.
Darn it.
Did you bring one?
Simple one.
Well, bring it. No, for sure. I was going to ask Joe if he maybe had one in his pocket that he leaned into. So if you've got one, I don't have one. So you got one. Maybe
I don't
Joe's
know
got
who
one.
said
What do you
it,
got?
but it's growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional.
I don't think I can.
I think Guy Clark said that in a song. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Sounds like
is that 70s country? Because I don't know.
But I like it.
I don't know who that is.
Oh,
is
my
that Roy
gosh,
Clark's brother?
You don't know. Oh my gosh, he's one of the best writers ever. Literally, do you know Guy Clark, Joe?
I know the name. I haven't read any of them.
Oh, you guys have certainly heard his songs. I can promise you so.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joe, any quote that any quote that you had?
You're putting him on the spot, man.
I know, but I thought maybe
you stumped me at the very end, Craig.
Yeah,
you stumped me at the very. I wish I had something in my hip pocket that come out of there, but
don't feel bad. I didn't bring one either, so Ed was.
I'll tell you what.
Prepared for the quote.
Once
that's on me.
This podcast is ready to send out, when you amplify it on your LinkedIn page, you can tag a quote there for us.
Put your quote in there. Perfect. Hey, I forgot to put it out when we closed the show, but here it is. That's a great idea, Ed.
I have one.
Absolutely.
So,
that's why you're where you are, Ed.
It is why.
South Texas.
So. Well, Ed, in case somebody doesn't know how to get in touch with us that's listening to the show, can you please let them know how to find us out there in the
interweb
sphere?
As a matter of fact, I can. So please follow, like, share the podcast at the Fresh Cred on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, as well as Cred Fresh on Twitter. By all means, if you have any questions, concerns even, we'll send those over to Craig. Email us at thefreshcred@gmail.com. And look out for us in the very near future. In almost a month, we'll be at Viva Fresh Expo in Dallas, Texas on, what is that, April 1st, I guess? Yeah, April 1st is the day of the expo, and we're going to be broadcasting live from the show floor, center of the show floor. So that's pretty exciting, and we're busy working on the preparations for that.
For sure. And also, look up Ed on LinkedIn. Check out my LinkedIn page. So every Saturday, Sunday, I'm posting now. One of my New Year resolutions, or what I decided to do, is each week I post up 3 or 4 things that I ran across during the week or experiences that I had or whatever that I think might be worth exploring. So be sure and check out Joe, Ed, and myself on LinkedIn. That's a great place to find us. And gentlemen, thank you all very much. Mason, you were awful quiet today, but we appreciate your efforts behind the scenes. Thank you very much, guys. And everybody have a great week and weekend, and we are out.